Today is July the 5th. Welcome after you guys back after having a great 4th of July weekend. Today, I want to talk about my watch list. As you know, I always kind of dive deep down into it. If you never liked, subscribe, or follow our channel before, please do so now. We definitely support other channels, and we ask you to support ours as well. We support other content creators. We ask you to support them as well. We one of a few individuals who don't have a problem at all, just sharing with you to tell you the things that you probably should do in order to keep our community healthy and flourishing. And that way you can get the updated information that you need. On today's show, I just want to talk about this. I'm still doing some due diligence on some stocks, but going into my watch list, there's some things that have exploded and you might have missed it. So I just want to do a quick refresh. There were 3 stocks. One of them was DraftKings. Another one was Shopify, and then also had AFRM. All of those stocks from the time I started the whole watch list from February 1st of 2023 until now have actually achieved what I expected them to achieve. Now we have a couple of ones that I had talked about. Back on April 26th, I talked about RIVN Automotive. And I put it on the watch. I talked about putting on the watch list, looked at the stock. But let me give you a little update. It's been 70 days since I spoke about RIVN, stock price RIVN. And that was on April 26th of 2023. And since that time, guys, let me just tell you, that stock has exploded. At the time, it was trading at $12.14. It is now trading at $20.43. That is at $8.29. So when you take in consideration, if I would have deployed $1,214, getting 100 shares of RIVN today, 70 days later, I would have been able to capture 829 days. Now, if you want to take 70 days, you can divide it. You can see how much money I would have made per day if I chose to select that stock. One of the things about the watch list is right now, starting from February 1st, there's actually 6 stocks that was on the watch list that have all been money makers. The other ones, as you know, and I mentioned earlier, you go back, you look all the way back on February 1st, I continue to tell you that the travel industry was undervalued. What did we find out on February 1st? I put Norwegian Cruise Line and Carnival Cruises. At the time, back on February 1st, you can go back and check out that video. Matter of fact, I'll probably put a little link in the video so you can actually see which one that was. But on February 1st, I talked about it being $8.89 a share. That's $800.89 to buy 100 shares. I also talked about Norwegian Cruise Line being at $12.75. That's $1,275. What did we find out? As of today, that's right, today, Carnival Cruises is trading for $19.21 at $10.32 or $1,032 profit. If, again, you think about taking a position, you think about, man, if Primo took this position, he's made $1,032. I wonder how many he bought. Or if Primo took the position, and that's Carnival Cruises. That's $1,032. I mean, that has taken, though, from February 1st, which is a little bit different than RIVN, and from February 1st up to today, that is 154 days. So you got to take in consideration 154 days. Got to take that into account. That's different than RIVN, which was 70. A little bit longer, but the reality is that the watch list that was decided upon that I selected as I did my due diligence, how did I create my watch list? In case this is your first time ever watching the show, my watch list is created by one thing only, based on the amount of money that I have access to at the time. So for me, which may be different than other people, I only put on my watch list shares or cash that I can afford to deploy. It's not dedicated to anything else right now. It's my equivalent to allowing myself to be able to earn higher interest than I would make by leaving the money in a money market or at my local institution, having that money sat there, doing any type of annuity. It's just me doing my due diligence, checking out the competition, seeing what is being actually oversold, as well as seeing what's being undervalued. Those skills have came over time. It's not something you're going to learn in a day. But when it comes to certain industries that you've spent time in, you become more proficient in that area. Anything that you work on, you're going to have not necessarily a mastery, but a better understanding of. And I particularly have a better understanding of the travel industry. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I can understand if the travel industry has been undervalued ever since we went into the COVID shutdowns. Now we're coming out of COVID shutdowns. These prices were really suppressed, as you know, and most of us was affected by it. But how does that play a role? Well, whenever you're thinking about doing anything when it comes to your overall finances, you can find out what you're doing when it comes to your own watch list. This watch list was designed based on what I had access to, how much money I had saved, and I was able to deploy it. Now, keep in mind, anytime you look at the watch list that I have created for myself, I didn't include you. There's some decisions I would have made that may affect you and it could hurt you. So I just want to keep that in mind. This is my personal watch list that I'm looking at. This may or may not be stocks that you should ever get involved in. You should do your own research. If you're not sure how to do your research, please take my advice, hire a professional, allow them to do all the work for you. Just make sure you put your money in an account and they'll make the decisions for you. Now, with that being said, I go back and I look and I say to myself, well, ever since February 1st, there were 3 stocks that were on the list that came off. As I said before, DraftKings, then it was Shop, then next it was AFRM. Now I'm looking at Norwegian Cruise Line, Carnival Cruises, and actually RIVN. Now, RIVN, I talked about back on April 26th, and I was doing some research on it. I listed it as being on the watch list. You look at the next show after that, the next following Wednesday, it wasn't on the list. At the same time, that's one that I can honestly say I missed out on. I mean, there's no reason for me to sit here and try to mislead or misdirect anyone and missed out on it. It didn't stay on the watch list. I did do my due diligence on it. I did see it, but at the time I already have taken some positions and I said, okay, well, I don't want to be, I don't want to be exposed right now to being in that position that I'm sitting at and looking at any type of transactional income in a way that may affect me. Now, you may say to yourself, some of the positions I've already taken, some of them are already in, so I had to make decisions what was best for me. With that being said, I'm excited to say that it didn't take long. I mean, we're talking about 154 days and already 6 stocks that I did due diligence on have all come to fruition and money was made. Now, I'm suggesting and pointing out that you have to have a benchmark for yourself. If your watch list, if you take those dates and you start tracking it out and you write it down, this is your personal watch list. Now, you can either aim, and I'm going to tell you, think about it this regards. I'm not one to do a lot of aiming and not firing. Again, I don't do a lot of aiming and firing. What is the reason to go hunting if all I'm going to do is look down the barrel of a gun, see an animal, and fail to pull the trigger? At least pull it. What if you miss? The deer gets away. Heck, I'm telling you, if you go hunting and you see a deer and you got the deer tags, don't go hunting without following the rules, though. You make sure you got your tags, how many you can get, and you see a buck out there and he's a 6 or 8 pointer, and you don't pull the trigger and you just enjoying, that's nature watch. Don't go hunting for that. Go to watch any National Geographics, watch any Indio, and just enjoy nature. Turn on Netflix and watch any nature show. You can see that all day long. But if you're going to hunting, now I only hunt to eat. That's the only reason that I invest in stocks is because I'm using the money to meet my needs financially. For some of you guys, it's not a deferment. If you learn anything about the show, anything that I talk about on my Wednesday night Primo's watch list is all for taking positions. It has nothing to do with deferment. This income I expect to make in the 12-month basis. So from February to now, I have made income. Now it may not be as much as I like, but I can tell you I've made income. Now, for others, you may say it's not enough for me, but that's fine because I get it. I do get it. And I appreciate you guys for watching the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Don't forget there's a heart button. If you like some of the content, you like the fact of how I do the research and what I'm talking about, don't forget to show your thanks. Take the opportunity, hit the thanks button, and go ahead and make a contribution to the CFS Studios. We appreciate it. It allows us to better serve you. Now, I'll tell you, people ask me, well, if I was going to make a contribution today to your show and support your channel for you continue to do what you're doing, sharing and allowing us to see how you process information, what is the amount? $12. That's as minimum as I will act to ask. If I don't give you an amount, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's $12. My goal is to help 3,600 people see the opportunity and then say, you know what? He's bold. I'm going to go ahead and do this for myself. If that way you can go and change your life as I changed mine. Remember, this is a marathon, not a 100-yard foot race. So I don't expect to see large sums of money being made over the course of 12 months if I'm not allocating those large sums of money to order to see large sums of money over 12 months. That's the key. I mean, buying 100 shares based on what we see here, you now know. I mean, even one as far as this. Let me just tell you something I thought was interesting. Today, one of the things I noticed was on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, I mean, again, in the body, you see my watch list, so it's not going to be nothing new. But New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, two things took place. NIO, which is a Inc., which is an ADR, a China manufacturing company that competes with Tesla. Today it's trading at $10.22, up 19 cents. One of the interesting things was the volume. Again, the volume. Tesla volume was high, but NIO's volume was pretty high. I mean, we're talking about 637 plus million spent today on the trade right after the 4th of July. $637 million was traded. What was the volume on NIO? Well, I'll tell you, 62,392,189. That's the volume, individual shares that were sold. 62 million. Carnival Cruises, which I told you was on the watch list at the time back in February 1st of 2023, and Carnival was trading at $8.89. Today, $19.21, up 25 cents. Now, I don't know about you, but how often do you go to your bank and you let money sit in your money market, your savings, or your checking, and you see a tremendous jump of $1,032? Because if you would have left money in your safe, if you have $889 and it's been sitting in your savings account since February 1st, and you decided to move that over to your broker's account, automatically you would saw today, July the 5th, $1,032 increase in your actual account. Only in America can you do this through a broker's account that don't have a fixed interest rate where you determine what your rate of your deployment of money is. You would have saw that money. And that's one of the things that kind of helped me. I mean, when you start looking at this volume, it's not a chance that Carnival Cruises is up this way with 55 million shares volumes being traded today and $1 billion in cash being moved. $1 billion. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That $1 billion is also some of that capital appreciation from a lot of us that looked at this stock back in February, well, from December of 2022 all the way to February 1st of 2023. And then later, you just take in consideration. I mean, if you had $2,000, you would have saw $2,000 increase on top of you're sitting on $4,000, all because of one thing. You was willing to deploy your resources in a broker's account and an account that you get to determine your fixed rate. No one else get to determine that when you manage your own money. Now, if you somebody else manage your money for you, then I appreciate that. Tell them thank you very much if they've taken that position. If they didn't take that position for you or any position for you other than going into whatever they decide is best fit for your portfolio, thank them for that as well. But for me, I'm looking at things from doing some research. I'm putting the time in. Is it work? Yes. Is it easy? No. Let me just explain it to you right now. How come it's not easy? Because you have to fight your emotions. You got to fight all your biases. You got to be detached from your money to make money. That's the key. Detach from your money to make money. And if you're able to do that, then you can actually succeed. What was one of the other stocks on the New York Stock Exchange that traded high volumes? Well, SPY, that's the S&P ETF Trust Fund. Well, that's to buy that index fund is $443.14. 52 million shares volume was traded today for $23 billion in cash move. And then Ford Motor Company, which was traded at $15.35, and that had 51 million volume, trading volume, and $795 million was traded today in Ford Motor Company. Now, Ford has been a company been around for years. Now, how come I said that? Because that was just on the New York Stock Exchange. One of the interesting things was on the NASDAQ. RIVN, which I mentioned to you earlier, it was 117 million share volume was traded. Now, how much? $2 billion was traded in RIVN today. That's $2 billion. Now, keep this in mind. Back on April 26, 70 days ago, I talked about it trading at $12.14. And that $2 billion was probably, a lot of companies. I'm not the only one that saw that. I did my research. Lucid Motors is one of their competition. Tesla's another one. NIO's another one. So you got Tesla, NIO, then you got RIVN, you got Lucid Motors. These are all electric companies. Ford, GMC, these are all as well. But what did you see? $2 billion in RIVN and also a high. Now, if you would have bought back on April 26 of 2023, you would have paid around 14 to about 12.25, but 12.14 really. 70 days later, you're looking at $20.43, and you would have been part of that $2 billion exit. That's right. Time to take profits. And also Carnival Cruises. Now, that's another one that was trading high. But one that threw me off was a little bit was MARA, which is Marathon Digital Holding. That's currently trading at $15.56. and 46 million shares which in volume were traded today for 700 million in cash being exchanged from institutions, individual retailers, and resellers that were holding shares that were selling them out, helping liquidity who are underwriters. Now, that's an interesting thing because, I mean, whether you know it or not, that was the activity. One on the New York Stock Exchange, the other one on the NASDAQ, the NSDAQ, and, you know, it kind of helped me get a guide for what I was looking at. Now, as far as today is concerned, my watch list is shrinking. I mean, 6 stocks, unless I'm just carrying them forward. 6 stocks, if I chose to enter or exit, what I do, you don't know yet. But the key is 6 of them, that's right, 6, have all hit their marks and hit the ability and the profitability. Now, again, this is what you look at as having opportunities in the market and taking full advantage of it. But I'm excited to say, because out of the stocks I normally carry around anywhere between 6 to 10, and so far still got some in there. Still, if you go to the watch list, you notice Beyond Meats is still on my watch list. I still have that there. Still excited about where that will happen 70 to 154 days from now, where that would be. I did my due diligence on that one and still having some conversations, even though they're getting more and more and more. And even though recently the FDA approved 2 companies, that's right, 2 companies to come out and begin to distribute their products in the grocery store, at least in restaurants, to test it on out. And, you know, I'm still looking at those competition and seeing where they fit all. But I just wanted to come out here today to tell you that, you know, I'm still doing my due diligence on the other stocks, the ones I'm going to talk about even more. But at this particular time, I'm excited to see that the hard work of back starting in February, then going into the month of March, then April, have all paid out. And again, don't buy any stocks that you see on my watch list, regardless of the outcome, even though 6 of them was exciting, but because they were based on me. It may not be for you. During that time, over the course of those 154 days and 70 for the other one, and then shorter term when it came to AFRM, shorter term when it came to DraftKings, and even shorter when it came to Shopify, it didn't take as long to see that profitability and start to see anywhere between $300 to $500 per 100 shares. You know, that seems to be the normal pattern. Now, that may not be the normal pattern of you, because during that time, there was some capitulation. There was a drop in the price before there was a rise. So that's the reason I say do your own research, because one of the hardest things is going through the ebbs and flows of the market, the ups, the downs. Sometimes the price, I mean, you have to go back. Norwegian Cruise Line dropped below that price at one point. So the Carnival, then it peaked up. When it got up to 15, then it peaked, dropped back down. Can you handle all the emotions? And that's the reason that a lot of people go out and they hire someone to manage the money for them. It's because of the ups and the downs of the market. Well, today, that's the end of the show. Didn't want to go too long. It's already been 18 minutes. But I just wanted to come out here today to talk about the watch list, because the watch list is shrinking. I'm going to have to find some new stocks. But in order for me to find some new stocks, I'm going to have to look at the new money that I have set aside, if I have or not. Or will I continue to just keep my watch list current? Did I exit? Did I do new entries? Who knows? The key is the watch list is out for the general public to see. And now you get a kind of a gauge how well I do. And even if I didn't do well, this is all for fun anyway. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at still growing my overall personal funds. Hopefully you're growing yours as well. Just remember that we are the key controllers of our own wealth. No one can dictate our wealth other than us. And the only reason our wealth don't grow because we leverage our money the wrong way. Instead of proper allocating for us, we allocate for them. And that is the way that you don't become wealthy. You become a slave to all the items you have access to that you enjoy, whether it's your clothes, whether it's your cell phone because you charged it, whether it's your mortgage payment, your new car. All of these items are what you become a slave to, because your wealth goes to the companies that leverage that item in order to get access to your cash. And until next Wednesdays, guys, don't forget, you can't do anything unless you can manage what you have. Have a great day.